This is Disney Travel Tales, a trip report show helping you to become an expert at navigating your next Disney vacation. Join me every Friday for all things Disney related. Not traveling to Disney anytime soon? Never fear, we are still the show for you. Sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in someone else's trip. All the joy, none of the stress. All right, if you're ready, let's get to today's show. Well, hello, it is me, and I am here to share all about my own personal trip tale from my couples trip that I did with my husband back in January. I've just been kind of waiting for the perfect time to share this episode, and I cannot wait to tell you all about our amazing couples trip. So this was our first ever couples trip to Disney. I've been wanting to do one for a while now, just kind of waiting for the perfect time for it. Last year in January, we had done a couples trip to Napa, and it was so much fun. It was really nice to kind of get away after the holidays and the kind of the busyness of it, just the two of us to reconnect. And so I think it was like in August, I kind of started messing around on the Disney travel agent page and found some really great rates. And so I decided to go ahead and book us our trip. We decided just to do a quick little trip. One of the main reasons that I wanted to do the trip not only was for the whole couples trip experience, but also the Disney dining plan was going to be coming out. And as a travel agent and Disney podcaster, I really like to stay up to date on what's going on. So I wanted to go get some hands-on experience with that so I could share everything that I learned with my clients and with you. So I went ahead and booked our trip for January 9th through January 12th. The dining plan was opening on the 9th, so that worked out really well. We stayed at the Riviera Resort in a tower studio, and we had a 3-day park hopper ticket. So the tower studio is kind of an exclusive room in the Riviera, and I only say that because there are not a lot of these rooms even available. On the side of the Riviera, the entire resort, there's like a tower, and those are the tower rooms. So just like whatever's along that tower is what's available in this room size. And it is very, very inexpensive if you can grab this room. Again, because there are not a lot of these rooms, it is really hard to get. So when I saw that this room was available and I could add the dining plan, all the stars aligned and it ended up being a really great option for us to take. I'm going to do a whole nother episode, a deep dive into the Riviera Resort about our room and our stay there. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the room in this episode, but definitely stay tuned for that next episode. It's going to have a lot more information about this resort as a whole and kind of how we felt about it. Okay, so let's just start at the very beginning of our trip. So on January 9th was a Tuesday. We had a kind of early flight. It wasn't super early. We flew out around 9:30. We landed in Orlando around 1:30. And for this trip, I actually had pre-ordered us a lift. I had never done this before. I had had a couple of clients do it the month prior, and they had really good luck with it. And so I went ahead. Actually, it was an Uber. I'm sorry. I pre-ordered us an Uber because you can't pre-order a lift. That wasn't an option. So we never check our bags. We always just travel in carry-on. So got off the plane. Flight was super easy, super smooth. It was not full, which is always so fantastic. We just walked down to, where you leave, and our Uber showed up within a couple of minutes. It was really nice to kind of have that option. I'm personally don't like to do the Mears Connect, especially on shorter trips and trips when I'm just traveling with one person. It's just much easier for me to either hire a car service or to just do an Uber or a Lyft. I do have to say I really did like pre-scheduling this. I think it cost a little bit more to pre-schedule it, but it was really nice. The driver kind of stays in contact with, he watches the flight, he or she watches the flight so they know if it's going to be delayed or not, so you don't have to worry about that. When we got there, I just got on, told him that we were there, walking out there. And again, I think we might have waited 5 minutes for him to drive up. And that's just because there was kind of traffic in that area coming into the airport. So he was already there waiting for us. He took us straight to our resort, Riviera Resort, which one thing that I did notice about this resort that is different about other resorts is when you are trying to like pull in with a car, they are going to ask to see your ID to make sure that you are a guest staying there. Now, if you have a dining reservation, I've heard that you have to show them that you have a dining reservation. So that's something to think about. If you're going to want to visit the Riviera, you might just want to try to take the Skyliner over there to visit or make a reservation so that you can eat there. I had gone ahead and done mobile check-in. So when we got there, our room was not ready. We went ahead and dropped our bags off at guest services. Also on this day, because it was our check-in day, our dining plan showed up in the My Disney Experience app. So under my resort reservation, it just had an option where I could look to see how many quick service meals I had, if I had gotten my refillable drink mug, how many snack credits I had, and how many table services I had, because I did go with the Disney dining plan where you had table service and quick service options. So we had 6 quick service meals, we had 2 refillable drink mugs, we had 6 snacks, and 6 table service. Around, I think this was a little bit after 2, we actually made it from the airport to the resort very fast. We felt a bit frazzled, and this kind of happens often to me. So I have these grand plans on how the first day is going to look. And when I had originally planned this trip, our arrival day was not going to be at Park Day. It was just going to be a chill at the resort day and visit Disney Springs Day. Because we were going to go ahead and visit the parks on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday was going to be the first day of Festival of the Arts. That's why I got the 3-day ticket so we could make sure to be there on Friday. About 2 weeks before the trip, our flight got changed on the day that we were going to leave. I had booked a really late flight. It got moved up a bit, and then we found out that my daughter had this dance thing, so we actually needed to get home a little bit sooner than we had originally planned. So going to Epcot that day was not going to be realistic. We would have maybe had 2 hours total in Epcot, and for a whole Park Day ticket, it is just not worth it. So we've always fly Southwest. That's just a really great option out of Austin, where we fly out of, to get to Orlando. They have lots of nonstop options. And when they have a change to your flight, you are allowed to change your flight twice without being charged. So I just picked an earlier flight for us that day, an earlier nonstop option. So then that turned our park days into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So our arrival day was now a park day for us. So we get to the resort, and the first thing I decided to do, we dropped our bags off at Bell Services. We kind of walked around a bit. Cameron was really impressed by this resort. He said it was really nice. He's only stayed at value resorts, and so this was definitely a step up for him. He was like, oh yeah, this is really nice. We decided to go to the quick service restaurant, Primo Piatto, to grab our refillable drink mugs because we were really thirsty. And we were also really hungry. It was lunchtime. We had been up a really long time. And this is where things kind of felt a bit frazzled. So we originally were going to just eat lunch at Primo Piatto. And we looked at the menu. They have great food. I just want to put that out there. But it's not really what we were feeling. Like, we just kind of weren't feeling like that type of food at the moment. So we just decided to grab our refillable mug. So when we went to Primo Piatto, we just went to the checkout counter. And because it was the first day, most of the cast members that we ran into were not super familiar with the dining plan yet. So the lady at the cash register, she was still kind of being trained on it. And so it actually took a little bit to get our mug. They scan your magic bands. They have to scan the mugs, because when you go put your mug in the drink place, it like reads the bottom of it so that it knows that you can get a drink, because you can't just go put any mug up there and get a drink. And so they had to like activate those. Overall, it was fine. It was not a big deal. And then we got our drinks and decided, let's just hop on the Skyliner and head over to Epcot and figure out the food situation. I knew there would be lots of good food options over there, and we were just gonna head over there and figure it out. So we hopped on the Skyliner around 2:40. A great part of just kind of hopping on in the middle of the day is there was no line. There was no one else even getting on the Skyliner but us at the time. We rode over to Epcot. It was a nice ride. We're all excited. The weather was really nice. It was cool outside, but sunny. I had also purchased Genie Plus for us that morning when we were at the airport. I forgot to mention. And I had gone ahead and gotten us a lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind. So when I had purchased Genie Plus, the ride options were all really early. So I just didn't grab us one at the time. I just knew, I'd kind of keep watching it. While we were in the air, I went ahead and kept checking. I had bought the Wi-Fi on the plane, and I ended up getting us a Remy's lightning lane because Cameron had never rode Remy's. And so I wanted him to get to ride it. So we decided, once we got off the Skyliner and we went into the park through the International Gateway, we decided to go ahead and just grab a quick little lunch/snack over at Les Halls, which is it's like the bakery area over in the French Pavilion. I got like a ham and cheese croissant sandwich. Cameron also got the same sandwich, and it was so delicious. Now, they would not take our dining plan. They said that it did not work there, which was fine because we each just got a sandwich. But I have heard that might not be the case, that they might actually take the dining plan. So that is something I'm not 100% familiar with at this time because, again, that first day that we were there, they said they did not take the dining plan. It could not be used as a quick service credit. So after we got our food, we just found a little table to stand at, and we scarfed it down like so fast because we were so hungry. And then we went ahead and headed over to Ratatouille for our lightning lane. We got there at around 3:30. That was when our lightning lane was. We stopped and did some pictures in front. There's always a pass photographer right there in front of the fountain. We got some really cute pictures. The standby for Ratatouille was about 45 minutes. The lightning lane was also kind of long. I think the ride might have broke down. We did notice while we were there were lots of really large family groups, like multi-generational, large family groups. And so in front of us, there were actually two really large family groups. And so that kind of slowed down the line a bit. But again, we only waited maybe 15 minutes to get on the ride, which is much better than 45 minutes. So Cameron loved the ride. He thought it was really cute. I also want to add that one of my goals for this trip, when I was planning it, Cameron's not a huge Disney person. He likes going on the vacations just for fun and stuff, but he's not like super sold on it yet. So one thing that I really wanted to do with this vacation is to make sure that we were doing things that were more couple related. We were doing more thrill rides because that's what we enjoy. We were doing lots of good food and drinks, partaking, eating at really nice restaurants, staying late, sleeping in. So these were kind of things I kind of kept in mind, visiting different resorts that we could do to make this trip not so much like when we travel with our kids and it's just ride. While I love Ratatouille, I think it's such a fun ride. I knew it was definitely going to be just a one and done for him, but I did tell him going into this trip that I did want him to have the opportunity to ride some of the rides that he hasn't got to, even if they were a slower ride. So he was just, kind of there for fun, following me around. But yeah, we loved the ride. The pictures we got, again, were really cute. We kind of just left France and started heading towards the right to where Morocco is. We walked over to Japan and we decided to stop and get a couple of drinks. And so we went and got the beers with the frozen tops on them. It was delicious, really nice. After we got our beers, we kind of just kept walking along, very leisurely over to Cosmic Rewind. We weren't in any hurry, taking in all the sights. We stopped in Germany, and I've never walked like all the way back through Germany, through all the gift shops and stuff, because sometimes when I'm at Epcot with my kids, there's just certain countries they don't necessarily care to stop in. And I think we always thought, the back of Germany was the restaurant, the beer garden, which it is, but there's also a couple of little stores back there. So we decided to walk back there. And one thing I thought was very, very funny is all the Christmas decorations were still up in Germany. And this was January 9th. I thought for sure the Christmas decorations would be down, but they weren't. So that was actually kind of fun. So we walked through all the little shops. We got one of the grapefruit beers there because that's another drink that we really love. Then we made our way over to China and we just kind of walked through China, stopped at some of the shops, and just at that point just kind of made our way through the World Showcase. This was just kind of our first little taste of the parks, and so I knew we were going to have a lot more time in Epcot. So we didn't feel like we had to just really do all the things at Epcot on this day. So after that, we decided to walk up and see the new Walt the Dreamer statue and the whole new area of Epcot that's been opened up. And this area is so nice. I've seen pictures, I follow all the Disney stuff on social media, and so I kind of thought I knew what it would be like from the pictures, but I have to say, visiting in person was so different. I absolutely loved it. I think this is such a great spot that when you're in the parks on a hot day or you just need a break to kind of just go and sit down. There's chairs everywhere. There's, a bench where you can sit by Walt. So we decided to get some pictures. When we were there, there was a PhotoPass photographer. So they took some pictures of us with this statue. And that was just like a nice little break spot before we headed over to Cosmic Rewind. So our lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind was at 5 p.m. We checked in right at 5 p.m. and got in line, and the line was really, really long. The virtual queue line was almost all the way outside, and the lightning lane line, if you're familiar, when you walk in, it kind of is like almost like the yellow brick road from Wizard of Oz where it twirls, and it was twirled almost to the door. And so I had told Cameron the ride must have broke down or something must have happened because it's usually not this long. We ended up waiting probably a good 30, 40 minutes in that line, which at this point was fine. Again, we weren't in any rush. We were kind of just enjoying each other's company. Cameron loved the ride. He thought it was so much fun. Again, this was his first time riding it. And I had kind of told him, I don't know if you've listened to my trip tale with my son Aiden that I went to Disney with last summer. He had very strong opinions about this ride. And so Cameron and I kind of talked about it when we were in line. And I told him how Aiden felt without trying to give too much of the ride away. But overall, he loved the ride. He said it was so much fun. And we got a new song for me. We got Disco Inferno, which I've never gotten. So that was really exciting. So now the only songs I need to get are I Ran and September. Those are the only two I haven't gotten at this point. So when we came out of Cosmic Rewind, we were kind of surprised at how quick the weather had turned. The sky was starting to look pretty gnarly. Definitely rain was coming in. We were getting alerts on our phone that we were under like a tornado watch, that severe storms were rolling in. We had a dining reservation at Kona Cafe at the Polynesian, but we were still a little bit early for that. It was around 5 o'clock. So we decided to go over to the land and ride Soarin'. There was, I grabbed us a lightning lane for it, but there was really not a wait because the park was starting to empty out due to the weather. Only the crazy people stayed like us. So we went over to the land. We got on Soarin'. Cameron's in Soarin' before. It is, just a really fun ride. I thought it would be, we've done it, not a big deal. But when we got on it, I was so pleasantly surprised that it was the Soarin' over California edition because I had never done that version of it. So that was really fun. That was such a nice surprise. We also sat by the cutest family. I'm assuming it was their first trip to Disney because they were just so excited. They had little kids. And when the ride, when you're on Soarin' and you kind of go up, they were just oohing and awing. Their little kids were so excited. So that was also really fun. I love being in the presence of people who are experiencing things at Disney for their first time. It's truly one of my favorite things. So we just absolutely loved Soarin' over California. That was just really cool, really fun. We left the land pavilion and it had just come like a huge storm. It was barely sprinkling when we left, but it was, everything was soaking wet. And so we decided just to head over to the monorail and head over to the Polynesian, see if we could check into our dining reservation a little bit early if we got there early. There was really nothing else for us to do at the park at that time. Spaceship Earth was down, so that's kind of the last ride over there that we might have done. So we just walked out to the monorail, and this is where things got very crazy. So as soon as we got to the monorail, like literally walking up the stairs, the wind starts insanely blowing, like it's blowing so hard. Then it started raining right when we got under the cover at the top where you get in the monorail. It starts this crazy sideways rain. So we had ponchos, we had our ponchos on, we had umbrellas, and we're still getting pretty wet. So the monorail pulls up, they let us get in the monorail, but then for some reason they did not close the doors. And so the rain is coming, both sides of the monorail doors are open. So the rain is coming like straight through the middle of the monorail, getting everyone in it soaking wet. There were like kids crying. There were adults who might not be used to severe weather like this that looked very nervous. Us being from Texas, this was not a big deal to us. We're kind of used to weather like this. So we thought it was kind of funny. And when we were in Germany, we had stopped and bought some caramels at the caramel shop. And so we kind of were just snacking on our caramels before dinner. I was wondering, why are they not at least closing the one door where the rain was coming in? And eventually they did. But because the weather was so bad and the wind was blowing so hard, we couldn't go anywhere. So we kind of sat in the monorail for a good 30 minutes, just waiting for the worst of the storm to pass by. And at this point, we were, I think, under a tornado warning, which is worse than a watch if you're not familiar. And so, yeah, it was quite the Disney experience. The monorail finally left, and the weather had kind of died down a bit. It was still raining, but the wind and the worst of the storm was definitely gone. And we got to the Polynesian Resort around 6:20. Our dining reservation was at 6:30, so we really weren't even that early. The one bad thing, and something to keep in mind when you are doing a dining reservation at a resort, if it is raining, that restaurant is typically going to be very, very busy because everyone's going to come back to their resort if they're staying there, and then they're going to try to go eat. So we walked over to Kona Cafe, and we had a reservation, but there was easily probably like 50 people standing out front trying to get a reservation or waiting for their reservation. So I just kind of felt a little bit nervous, like, are we even going to get our table? Thankfully, we're just a party of two, so we're real small. They ended up seating us, right around the time of our reservation, so it was no big deal. And this is where we decided to use our first table service credit. So the waitress came over and she asked us right away, do you have a dining plan and do you want to use it? Because you don't have to use your dining plan. You get to choose which restaurants you want to use it at. And so I was like, yes, we have it, and yes, we want to use it. So when you have a table service dining credit, you get an entree, a dessert, and an adult beverage. So we went ahead and we each ordered a drink. I ended up ordering the pineapple hard seltzer, and Cameron got the Kona Brewing Company Longboard Island Lager. We also had asked if we could substitute the dessert that came with our dining credit for an appetizer, and they said you cannot do that. So that's definitely good to know because I know in the past they would let you do that. But we decided to go ahead and order a couple of appetizers. So we ordered the glazed chicken wings and then the crispy pork vegetable pot sticker. Those came out, and this could have possibly been my favorite thing I ate on the whole trip. The wings were absolutely delicious. They were just cooked perfectly. The sauce was so good, but that pot sticker was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I'm just used to like individual pot stickers when I eat them. This was like a giant plate-sized pot sticker. So the whole pot sticker was just one plate/bowl with the sauce all around it. And it was so delicious, like so, so good. So this was a great kind of, start to our, dining plan adventures. For our entrees, I got the mahi, bacon, lettuce, and tomato, and Cameron got the Kona braised short rib. Both of our meals were really good. I mean, perfectly cooked, perfectly seasoned. It was just overall such a fantastic meal. Mine was really, interesting looking. It had arugula on the bottom and then the piece of mahi over the top with like two slices of bacon crust over and then a slice of tomato on top. And then it had a really delicious sauce slash vinaigrette around it. It was really, really good. And Cameron's was like mashed potatoes with some short ribs and gravy and broccolini and crispy onions on it. Everything was delicious. This meal was so, so good. I would definitely recommend eating here, and I would totally eat here again. Because we got dessert and we were very full because that was a lot of food. Now, granted, we hadn't ate a lot during the day, so we were really hungry, but this was a lot of food. One of the dessert options that they have is these little dessert glasses. So this was really just the perfect little bite of dessert. I ended up getting the key lime dessert glass. It was like a key lime custard and a passion fruit custard and blood orange mango jam. And then it had like a graham cracker crumble and some meringue on it. And then Cameron got the s'more dessert glass, which was like milk chocolate pudding, marshmallow cream, graham crackers, and toasted marshmallow. Both of these, again, were so good. I really loved mine. I kind of prefer a more fruity dessert. And so this just was perfect. It was the perfect end to just such a great meal. So we decided that we were going to go over to Magic Kingdom and spend the evening over there. We went out to the monorail and it was raining. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, this should be good. Magic Kingdom should be pretty empty. So we rode the monorail over to Magic Kingdom and yeah, it was fairly empty. We walked in on Main Street. We had our ponchos on and it was, lots of people coming out, like almost like a mass exodus of people coming out. And it was only 7:45, 7:50 at this point. So this was before fireworks and people were already wanting to leave just because of the weather. One of the great things about this trip and just kind of the attitude that we had going into it is we were just going to do whatever we wanted to do. We had, again, not a lot of expectations. We just wanted to have fun and have a relaxing time. I also forgot to add that morning when I bought the Guardians Lightning Lane, I also went ahead and bought us a Tron Lightning Lane for that night. So I wanted, Cameron's first experience on Tron to be at night. I knew he was going to love this ride. When I was there with Aiden, he was like, Dad's going to love this ride. And so I was really excited to get to experience that with him. But when we first got to Magic Kingdom, I looked on Genie Plus. There were tons of things available just because, again, there were not a lot of people there. So we went ahead and went over and did Big Thunder. At this point, our plan was not to watch the fireworks, but that will change as you will see. So we went over and we rode Big Thunder at night, kind of in the rain, and that was really fun. After Big Thunder, we went, I think we were going to walk over and do Haunted Mansion, but then we heard the Happily Ever After music playing and Cameron said, "Isn't that the fireworks?" And I was like, yeah. He's usually not a big fireworks person, but he was like, let's go watch it, which was like music to my ears because I love the fireworks. So we walked over from the Frontierland area. That's where we were. We walked across the bridge and literally got a spot right where the castle, like right in front to watch the fireworks. Because again, the park was so empty. There were not a lot of people there. And there were definitely not a lot of people saving spots for fireworks. So we got to watch Happily Ever After. This was his first time seeing it. He loved it. He thought it was a great show. Because the last time we went and saw fireworks, or the last time we went to Disney was in 2021 and they were not doing fireworks shows. And so the only time he's seen a fireworks show was when we went to Disney back in 2014, I think it was. And it was the Halloween party fireworks show. So it's been a really long time. Like he did not remember them at all. So we had a great view of the projections on the castle and everything. And he was really, he thought it was a really great show. The one bad thing was because of the weather, Tinkerbell didn't fly, but that was no big deal. It was still fantastic as always. I had wanted to do Space Mountain, but Space Mountain was down at this time. So we just went ahead and went over to our Tron Lightning Lane. We got over to Tron around like 8:45. I think our lightning lane was like 8:30 to 9:30. We got in line and it was pretty much a walk-on. Like we didn't have to wait in any kind of lightning lane line or anything. And we were in the middle row, like in one of the middle motorcycles. And Cameron loved this ride, just like I knew he would. It was so fun. It was really fun riding with him. Again, I love doing things when people are experiencing them at Disney for the first time. So this overall was just such a fun experience. After we rode Tron, we kind of walked through some gift shops and we were really tired. So we just decided to go back to our room. So one of the things I love about having a park hopper is you can kind of just park, go park to park, do a couple of things and leave. Again, I knew we were coming back to Magic Kingdom. It was late. It was really cold. The weather was not ideal. And at this point, we were really excited to see our room. Another thing that Cameron doesn't necessarily love at the parks, which I totally agree with, is the bus situation. So when we were leaving the park, I kind of glanced over. I saw that, so it was around a little after 9. I saw that the bus, no, it was probably around 9. So I saw that the bus situation for Riviera, the line looked kind of long. So I went ahead and ordered us a minivan. If you decide to use a minivan, they will pick you up over where the buses pick you up at Magic Kingdom. Whereas a Lyft or an Uber will have to pick you up at the Ticket and Transportation Center. So we ended up having to wait kind of a long time for our Lyft, or for our minivan. At this point, we probably should have just taken the bus, but we got to do it. Our driver was really nice, and she got us back to our resort at around like 9:20. We were really excited to see our room at this point because we hadn't seen it. So we went up to our room. We were on the 8th floor. Our balcony literally overlooked the Skyliner station. You could see Hollywood Studios. You could see Epcot. It was just such a great, great location. So when you walk into the room, there's actually not a bed. Your bed is a Murphy bed because this room, again, is very small. Only 2 people can stay in this room. So it was like a couch and an ottoman, a little TV setup area. But then it had like a wall where the Murphy bed was like a whole storage wall with like little built-in nightstands. It had a refrigerator, some cups, like a wine opener, and it had a really big bathroom. We had a bathtub, a shower, just a whole large bathroom area, which was really nice. So we kind of got settled. We had done bell services for our bags, which I, personally don't love doing, but we actually got our bags pretty quickly. I haven't really talked about it much, but on this day, like, there really weren't bad crowds. The parks were very manageable, not tons of people, which was nice. And so I just think during the slower seasons, everything just runs a little bit better. If you can have an opportunity to visit, typically when it's a little bit slower, I think overall will just have a better experience with everything. So he brought up our bags pretty quickly and our groceries that I had ordered through Instacart. And even he was like, y'all have one of the best views of the fireworks at Epcot. Like, you need to make sure one evening you get to sit on your balcony and watch the fireworks because you will not regret it. So that was like our kind of goal for the trip, is on one of the nights we were going to stay or come back to the hotel and watch the Epcot fireworks from our balcony. So pretty much the rest of that evening, we just got ready for bed and we went to sleep because we were exhausted. Now, the good thing is we were not going to wake up early the next day. We did have a breakfast reservation at Boma over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but it was not early. It was more like a brunch, and so that was really nice. We got to sleep in, and when I say sleep in, I mean, like, I think I woke up at 7, which was 8 Texas time, so that was really late for me. Cameron woke up around 7:30, and I took our refillable mugs and I went down and got us coffee, because you can get coffee in your refillable mugs, which is really nice. And I also went ahead and used a couple of our snack credits, and I got us the chocolate banana bread from Primo Piatto. I also went ahead and bought us Genie Plus for the day. I did the multiple parks one since we were going to be visiting multiple parks. It was $23 a guest that day. And then I went ahead and bought us an individual lightning lane for Flight of Passage over at Animal Kingdom Park. So we just kind of leisurely got dressed. I took some pictures off the balcony. This morning was so pretty. The sky was completely clear. All the storms were gone. It was going to be like cool in the morning. I say warm in the afternoon, but for me, being from Texas, it was not as cold in the afternoon. And yeah, we just ate our banana bread, drank our coffee, got dressed, and then we ordered a Lyft to take us over to Animal Kingdom Lodge. The Lyft was, I think, $15 for us to get over there. So that was with tips. So it's not expensive at all. It was a nice little drive over there. They dropped us off just right in the front. And this was my first time to be in this portion of Animal Kingdom Lodge. We've ate at Sanaa before, which is on a different side. This time we were eating at Boma, and so it was just in the grand entrance. It was so beautiful. I love this resort. I absolutely fell in love with it while we were there. It's just so peaceful, quiet, and absolutely gorgeous. So our breakfast reservation was at 10:30. We went ahead and we went over there. We decided to use a dining credit for this meal. So again, we were going to get a adult beverage with the buffet. We each got a glass of champagne. We decided that would be kind of a good breakfast drink. And this buffet was so good. Like, it's very different. It has your traditional buffet foods as well, but it also has like African inspired foods. We had like these little egg omelets that had peppers in them. They had a really good sausage, like turkey sausage gravy, but it was different than just your traditional gravy. It had different seasonings in it with biscuits. They had a little like nut salad with dried fruits and feta cheese. That was probably one of my favorite things I ate. They had these delicious deviled eggs with different seasonings and capers on it. They had an egg like frittata bake, just with lots of African flavors and styles. They also had your traditional just bacon, Mickey waffles, and just some sliced fruit and cheese. But again, this was another fantastic meal that we had. I just loved it. I think Cameron went back for thirds. I definitely went back for seconds. We also had Poggies. The table they sat us at was really nice as well. It was like a booth, but we could overlook the outside. The restaurant wasn't really busy. Again, I think it's because it was like 10:30 at this time, so a lot of people were in the parks. But overall, it was just fantastic. We loved this meal. Our waitress was so nice. She brought stickers over to all the tables she was serving, and she gave us some little princess stickers, which was really fun. And yeah, I highly recommend Boma if you get a chance to eat there. After we ate, I really wanted to walk around and explore this resort. So we went back to the main area. We went to the outside part where you can they have their own savannah there. You could see the rooms that have the balconies that overlook the savannah. You can kind of walk around. There weren't any animals out at the time that we were there, but there were cast members there ready to answer any questions about animals, which was pretty cool. There were kids talking to them and, asking, where are the animals at? But again, it was a great, really nice morning. We had gotten coffees to go, so we just kind of walked around. We went and checked the pool out and just really enjoyed just the weather being together and just the slow pace of this vacation so far. We also stopped in the gift shop as we were leaving. This is such a nice gift shop. I love the resort gift shops, but this one was probably one of the best ones I've ever been in. They had just a huge selection, lots of, Animal Kingdom Lodge specific things, lots of Animal Kingdom specific things, which I also enjoy. So that was really nice. We went out and decided just to take a bus over to Animal Kingdom. We waited maybe 10 minutes for the bus. Again, just standing there drinking our coffee, waiting. There were really not a lot of people out there at this time. We made it over to Animal Kingdom around 12 o'clock, and as we're walking up to the park, I was shocked to see the Christmas tree. Like a giant Christmas tree, and then a photo pass photographer taking pictures in front of the Christmas tree for people. It was just so bizarre, and I just didn't expect it. I don't know. I guess I thought that a lot of the Christmas stuff would be down. I had heard that at this point, all the Christmas stuff in Magic Kingdom was down. And obviously we had saw that it was down, but it was just surprising to me that some of the parks still had so much Christmas stuff up. Hey, it's Jenny, just popping on real quick. Make sure to stay up to date with all things Disney news, all things Disney Universal cruising related by following me on Instagram at Disney Travel Tales. You can also find me on Facebook at Disney Travel Tales as well. If this episode is making you want to plan a Disney vacation, then I would love to help you. All of my services are completely free to my clients, so there really is no reason not to use a travel agent. Most people don't realize that when you go and book your own Disney vacation, you are already paying that travel agent fee. So why not take advantage of that and get all of those services that you're already going to be paying for? I would love to help you plan your next trip, so make sure to check the show notes for information on how to get in contact with me, my quote form, my email, and yeah, let's make 2024 the year you go to Disney. Also, right when we walked in, I had another first, and I got to see Divine. She was there. It was funny. We were just kind of walking up, and there were all these people kind of crowded over, and Cameron's like, what are they doing? And I'm like, looking over there. Oh, that's Divine. So we kind of stopped and watched her for a second, which was really neat. I've always wanted to do that. We walked into the park. Again, Christmas decorations everywhere. It was shocking. So I went ahead and I had booked us a lightning lane earlier that morning for Everest, but it was for a little bit later because I just wasn't sure what time we were going to get over to the parks. So we decided to go over and ride Dinosaur. The standby wait was only 20 minutes. So I was like, we'll just stand in line for that. Like, we had time to kill. So we rode Dinosaur. This was, I think, Cameron's second time to ride Dinosaur, but he did not remember it the first time. But you know, Dinosaur is what it is. I'm not sure when it's closing for them to do the change over to Indiana Jones, but I did know that I wanted to ride it one last time in case it was my last time. So after we rode that, we walked through Dino Land. We got to see Chip and Dale in their cute little dinosaur costumes. We made our way over to where the Everest area is. We saw a flotilla come by with the Up characters on it, which was really sweet. We stopped and did a photo pass with Everest in the back. Those are always fun to do. And we went ahead and got in line for Everest. The standby was 30 minutes, and with the lightning lane, it was just a walk on. We literally walked directly and got on the line, got on the ride. This was the first time Cameron's been with me using Genie Plus at Disney World. We did it in Disneyland in last September, but this was his first time at Disney World. And let's just say he's definitely spoiled by it. He thought it was so nice, like never having to hardly wait in a line. It really will change your vacation and change the pace of your vacation and just make your vacation a little bit more fun. Like, because you will be less stressed standing in line, especially when you have kids. Standing in line with kids is never fun. So if you can add Genie Plus to your trip, just budgeting it in, I really think it's worth it. We love Everest. Fantastic as always. After we got off Everest, we decided to go over to the Maharaj Jungle Trek. I haven't done this in a really long time. So we kind of walked through there, enjoyed that. Because of the weather, I guess just because it was so chilly, there just were not a lot of animals out, but it really was fun walking through the bird section and, you know, seeing all the birds. That was really neat. There's also a lot of great photo spots over there in that area to take. So it's nice. It's definitely a must do if you get a chance to do it. After we got done with that, we were getting thirsty. And I really wanted to go see the Feathered Friends in Flight show. I'd never seen it, and this was one of the things I wanted to do on the trip. I had a very small list of like must-dos for myself and for our trip, and this was one of them. Because that's just another nice thing when you're doing an adults trip or a couples trip. You can stop and watch the shows and you don't have kids, you know, wanting to go on rides if they're not fans of the shows. And so I really wanted to stop and do this. But before we went into the show, we decided to go over to the Dawa Bar, which is in the Africa section, and grab a couple of beers for us. We took our beers over to the show. We got to the show just in time for it to start, and we got really great seats. And this show was so much fun. At the end of the trip, when I asked Cameron what his favorite part of the trip was, he said it was the show. Like, that was his favorite thing that we did. And so they have birds flying over the crowd. We had a bird almost fly directly into us, which is really funny. I have a video of it. So if you want to go over to my Instagram, it's in my reels, you will see it. I literally almost got run into by a bird. They have just beautiful owls. It's just, the whole thing was so good. The cast members who run the show were absolutely hilarious. You know, some of those shows can be cheesy, like when we go to SeaWorld and watch some of the shows, but this show was very well done. So after this, we decided to go over to Pandora. I had gotten us a lightning lane for Navi River Journey, another ride Cameron's never done. And then we had our lightning lane for Flight of Passage, and we were going to eat lunch, like a late lunch at Satu'li Canteen. So I took him the back way over there. One thing I do want to add is the park, Animal Kingdom, this day felt very, very busy. There were just lots of crowds of people walking around. I think it's the weather was really nice. It was just a Wednesday, so it's not like it was a holiday or anything. However, when we were at Hollywood Studios one day, I did hear people talking about their flights being canceled, heading home after the big Run Disney event, which had been the weekend before, and so that they were still there. So the parks did seem a little bit busier than I thought they were going to be, but I think there were just people who could not get home from the Run Disney event due to weather. So that was kind of interesting and something that I wasn't expecting. So once we got over to Pandora, we went ahead and got in line for our lightning lane for Flight of Passage. We waited 10 minutes. The standby was, 100 minutes, I think, at this point. So we barely had any wait at all and got right on. It was kind of interesting, though. I don't think I've ever experienced this before, but when we got on our, when we were sitting in the ride and it comes down on your back, we kind of were sitting there for a long time. So I'm not sure if there was something glitching with the ride, if there was like a tech thing, or if someone was having a hard time getting into, kind of strapped into their little avatar. But we were kind of there for a while, which was interesting. We love that ride. Cameron's done it. Again, just such a fun, fantastic ride. Must do for our family for sure. So after we got off that, we decided to go do our lightning lane for Navi River Journey. The standby was 60 minutes and it was a walk-on for us. This is just a slow boat ride. It's peaceful and it's really pretty, and he had never done it, so I kind of wanted him to experience it. So the first time I did this ride was back in January of 22, and the animatronic was there at the end. But this time it was like a screen. So that was kind of disappointing, just because the coolest part of this ride is the end of it when you get to see the animatronic, because it looks so lifelike. But now it was just a screen. I'm not really sure how long it's been a screen or if it's just permanently going to be a screen now. But my biggest tip is I would never wait in line for this ride, especially now that it's not the real animatronic at the end. And this line always is long. Like, the wait for this is always so long. So as we were getting off this ride, I decided to go ahead and mobile order our Satu'li Canteen for lunch. We went over there to pick it up, and the lady was standing at the door of the restaurant, and she was like, "Oh, you can't go in unless your order's ready." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So we sat outside and waited, even though there were like tons of other people going in when their food wasn't ready. So I'm not really sure what the deal with that was, but we had to wait, I would say, a good 15-20 minutes for our food to be ready. Once our food was ready, we grabbed it and then got a table. Cameron got the combination bowl that had like chicken, shrimp, and steak, and he loved it. I think he went with like the green onion sauce. But overall, he thought it was so good. This was his first time eating here. And yeah, this was probably one of our favorite meals as well, which I feel like I say that every time, but we ate a lot of good food on this trip. I got the cheeseburger pods just because I love them. I think they're so good. I also wasn't starving. I don't typically eat a lot, and I had ate a really big breakfast. And so I thought this was a perfect size meal for me. Our food was really good. This was a nice little break. After we got done eating here, we decided to, when you walk out of the restaurant, there's like a little drink stand there. So we decided to go over there and grab a drink. I got the rum blossom and Cameron got the beer that they served there. It was like a green beer. And we kind of just sat there for a bit and enjoyed our drinks. We walked around Pandora. Just, it's beautiful over there. So we kind of just enjoyed that whole area. I kind of looked at lightning lanes. There wasn't really much else we wanted to do there. We didn't want to do the safari. We've done it many times before. Just wasn't on our list of things to do this trip. And so I decided to go ahead and get us a lightning lane to meet Minnie and Mickey at Adventurers Outpost. We'd never done that before. And so we kind of just started heading that way. We stopped at a couple of the stores. The Island Mercantile is another one of my favorite stores at all the parks. And that was really fun. We didn't buy anything, just kind of stopped and looked. We went over, got in line for meeting Minnie and Mickey, and this line took forever. I'm not even sure why, if I'm being honest. We ended up standing in this line with our lightning lane for about 30 minutes. It was fun meeting them. There's a cast member there, but they don't take the picture, so the picture's being taken like by a standalone camera. The lighting is not good in there, just so that you know. So the pictures are okay. They're not great. It kind of takes pictures the whole time you're talking to them. We did have a great interaction with them, though. They were really funny. And they were teasing, or Minnie was kind of flirting with Cameron, which was funny. And of course, they liked my ears. I was wearing ears that are made by a little small shop called Stitched Up Magic, and they are beautiful ears. And Minnie and Mickey both just loved my ears. They kept talking about them. The cast member was talking about them, so that was really sweet. So after we left there, we decided to leave. So we went and we decided to take the bus back to the resort. It was around probably 4:30 when we were leaving. There wasn't a lot of people leaving, and so we just walked over to our bus. We were the second people in line. I think we waited maybe 10 minutes for the bus before it picked us up and took us back to the resort. We had extended evening hours this evening over at Magic Kingdom, and so our plan was just to kind of go back to the resort, rest a little bit, and then change clothes because it was supposed to be pretty chilly that evening, and I definitely needed more clothes than what I was wearing. So we got back to the resort. We went back to the room. I think we laid in bed for a little bit, took a little nap, and changed clothes. And then we decided to head over to Magic Kingdom. So we took a bus to Magic Kingdom because that's just the best way to get there. And we ended up getting over there around 6:30, I think. It was already dark outside. We had a dinner reservation at Skipper Canteen this evening, but we had some time to spare before then. So we went over and decided to do the People Mover. Magic Kingdom was crazy busy. I guess because it had been so rainy the night before, and so a lot of people had left, but I was really, really surprised how busy it was. The line for the People Mover was so long, and this is a ride that never stops. Like, the line never stops, so it should never be that long. And we waited like 25 minutes to get on it, which seemed like a long time. I know in the grand scheme of things it isn't, but it just was crazy how long just all the lines were and how crazy crowded it was over there in Tomorrowland. Another thing that I think was part of the problem is Space Mountain was down, which I feel like every time we were at the park, Space Mountain was down. And that morning, I forgot to add that I did grab us another lightning lane for Tron for this evening as well. Plus, I was planning at 6 o'clock, I was allowed to get into the virtual queue to get us. So we were going to get to ride it twice. We were going to get to ride it with our lightning lane and then again with a virtual queue because this was going to be our last time that we were going to be at Magic Kingdom on this trip. So we did the People Mover. I love the People Mover. It's one of my all-time favorite rides. It was, just a fun, relaxing ride. Cameron hasn't done the People Mover in a long time because again, when we went in 2022, it was not open. So he enjoyed it as well. After we got off that, we went over to our lightning lane for Tron. It was a walk-on, which was great. And we got to ride it again. And this time we got to be in the first row, which, let me just say, that was an experience and definitely my favorite time I've ever rode it. That first row is quite the rush, especially when you come out at the very beginning when it takes off. So that was really fun. Cameron agreed that was definitely the best time that we rode it. We stopped in the gift shop again after Tron, and then we headed over to, we also took some photo passes over there in front of Tron. They sometimes have a photo pass photographer. So we stopped and got some photos. You know, another great tip of mine is if you buy Memory Maker, get as many photos as you can, because if you don't, then you're just wasting your money. You might as well stop at as many photo pass photographers that you can. So after that, we went over to Skipper Canteen for our dining reservation. Getting over to that side of the park was quite the experience because this park was just so crowded and people were already all gathered around for fireworks. We knew that we were going to miss fireworks this night, so we just had to kind of fight the crowds to get over to the restaurant. This was our first time eating at Skipper Canteen, and we decided to use one of our dining credits for it. So when we got there, we had to check in. We ended up having to wait like 15 minutes for our table to be ready, but we were sat around 8 o'clock, and I think our reservation was like at 7:45, so it wasn't too bad. We ended up starting off with the cachapas, it's a corn pancake. It had beer braised pork, roasted corn, and a Fresno pepper salsa and avocado cream. They were so good, just absolutely delicious. I also want to add, we had the funniest waitress. So Skipper Canteen is kind of like a spinoff of the Jungle Cruise. So it's dad jokes, just really funny. Our waitress was all in. Let's just say she loves her job. She was so much fun. It was just a great experience with her and overall. We also went ahead and ordered the Kungaloosh Spiced Excursion Ale for each of us. It's kind of their, signature beer at this restaurant, which was really, really good as well. For our entrees, Cameron went ahead and got the Taste Like Chicken Because It Is, which is a crispy fried chicken with a chili soy glaze, jasmine rice, and pickled vegetable slaw. And I just got the Lost and Found soup because, again, I'm not a big eater. And so I just didn't want a whole lot of food. I didn't want to be too full. I was too full the night before when we went and ate at Kona Cafe. So when we came over to Magic Kingdom to ride rides and walk around, I just felt like very slow and sluggish, and I did not want to feel like that. So I just got this soup, and it was like a green curry soup with chicken and rice, and it was really, really good and just kind of the perfect amount of food for me. So for our dessert, because we got a dessert, we decided to get the coconut bar with pineapple basil compote and vanilla cream. And it was just like a little cake with some stuff on it. It was really good. Overall, this meal was really, really tasty. We really enjoyed it. The vibe of this restaurant is really fun. I think that, even if you are a picky eater, I think you for sure can find something that you will like here because there were lots of great options. After we ate here, I had gotten us a lightning lane for Jungle Cruise, so we went over and did the Jungle Cruise, which was fun as always. We had a great skipper. The standby line was 60 minutes, and we ended up waiting in lightning lane for about 15 before we got on a boat. After Jungle Cruise, we went over and watched the Country Bears show. The Country Bears is going to be closing right after we left, and so not sure if I've ever watched this show, if I'm being totally honest. I might have watched it one other time, but I can't remember. Cameron's never seen it, and so when we were at Kona Cafe the night before, there was this group of young adults sitting next to us, and they were talking about the Country Bear show and how they had to go see it because it was going to be closing. So Cameron's like, "What is this show?" And I was like, "Well, we better go see it before it closes and stuff." So we went in. The auditorium was completely packed full of people. Everyone wanted to go see the Country Bears before it closed. It actually ended up being really fun. I'm familiar with the music, and so Cameron was not familiar with the music, and he was so funny. He's like, "What was that?" when it was over, but most of the people in there were singing along, cheering. It was such a fun show. And even when we left, the cast member at the front said this was the best show he's had in a long time, with the audience, because everyone was so into it. It was fun and Just kind of a great way to say bye to that silly, silly show. After the Jungle Cruise, I had grabbed us a lightning lane for Haunted Mansion, so we went ahead and headed over there. I think this was our last ride before the extended evening hours actually started. So we rode Haunted Mansion. I was so excited to see the Hatbox Ghost, but I did not realize he was going to be at the very front. Like, he's at the very beginning of the ride practically. And so I completely missed taking a picture of him, which I was kind of bummed out about. The standby for this was 60 minutes. And, with the lightning lane, we got all the way back to where the show is, to where you go into the stretching room. And so we didn't really have to wait at all in line. But I love the Haunted Mansion. As you know, if you're a listener, this is one of my all-time favorites. And so it was really fun going on this ride. After Haunted Mansion, I took Cameron to the Tangled bathrooms, the most beautiful bathrooms on Disney property. And he was, medium impressed, I think. And at this point, it was around 10 o'clock. And so the park was closing to regular guests, opened only to extended evening hour guests. So we kind of just walked around. We walked back by Gaston's Tavern. There was literally nobody there. So that was kind of fun to take pictures of. And we went over to the Barnstormer. Cameron's never rode this, so I thought, hey, let's go ride the Barnstormer. So we had to sit in separate seats because if you've ever rode the Barnstormer, it is a very tight ride, definitely made for kids. So we went around and rode it once. There was only 2 other kids on the ride with us. And when we came back around, there was nobody in line. And they said, you want to go again? And we're like, sure, let's go one more time. So we went around and we got to ride it twice in a row. When they stopped, they were like, do you want to go again? And the kids yelled, yeah. And we were like, no, we're good. I think we've had enough Barnstormers. So we went ahead and got off and went over to Teacups. And it was a walk-on. So we got to ride on the Teacups, which was really fun. After that, we went over and did the Astro Orbiter, which we didn't really have to wait for at all. I think there was nobody in line except a couple of other couples. And so we just had to wait for the elevator to come down and get us to take us up. And we rode Astro Orbiter, which this ride is, I only like to ride it at night because it is quite thrilling. Like, you feel like you're going to fall out. So that was really fun. We rode in the same little spaceship. So that was kind of romantic and nice. After that, we went over and got in line for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So one thing to keep note of during the extended evening hours, all of the wait times in the My Disney Experience app are wrong. So I think it said it was like a 60-minute wait. But when we got over there, I could just tell by looking at the line. I'm like, that is not going to be a 60-minute wait. The line it definitely was a wait. We waited, I think, 20 minutes. But for that ride, that's not even that bad. And the line was pretty much moving the entire time. So that's just a fun one. Another ride I love to ride at night if you get the chance. So we went ahead and did that. And that was really fun, as always. And after that, I needed a little snack. So we went over to Storybook Treats and I got the Rapunzel sundae that they had. It was like a Dole Whip swirl with a strawberry swirl, and it had these cute little candied flowers that looks like the flowers in Rapunzel's hair, and whipped cream and like a fruit compote. And that was really delicious. So at this point, we really had 2 things we needed to do before the park was going to close at midnight. We wanted to ride Space Mountain because we had not got a chance to, and we still had our Tron virtual queue. Now, when you are at any of the parks, the lines will stay open till park closes. Then they close the lines. Now, if you're in line, you still get to stay in line and ride that ride. So we had to try to get 2 rides done in about 45, or at least be in line, get a ride done and be in line for the other ride. I think we had like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So after I ate my ice cream, while I was eating it, we started slowly walking over to Space Mountain because we saw that it was open. So we got in line for Space Mountain at 11:30. Cameron's like, there is no way we're going to be on and off this ride in 30 minutes. And I'm like, we can do it. So we, walked all the way through. There didn't seem to really be a long line. And then if you're familiar with Space Mountain, you kind of get to the top and the line didn't even look that long. So I'm like, we're fine. We got this. And it kind of took a little bit longer than we thought. So then I'm getting a little bit nervous. I'm like, shoot, we are going to have to run over to Tron to get in that line before midnight. So we finally get on Space Mountain and we ride it, and it was fantastic as always, really fun. And by the time we get off, we have like 10 minutes to get over to Tron, which they're not that far from each other, Tron and Space Mountain, but it is like getting out of Space Mountain itself is kind of a long hallway. And so we were definitely doing our speed walk. We're speed walking through to get out of there and to get over to Tron, which we did. We got over to Tron with like 2 minutes to spare to get in line. I don't think they were being super strict about this line because I did see people behind us kind of getting line after us. But again, I don't know how strict they were going to be. I'm just, to be on the safe side, try to get in that line before the park closes so that you don't get turned away. This was going to be our last time at Magic Kingdom, our last time riding Tron, and so I was excited once we got in line. The line was really long. I've never stood in the virtual queue line before. It wasn't as long as I've seen it on other days at the park, but it was long. And we waited about 20 minutes to get on the ride, and then we got to ride it for the last time, and it was a great ride. I was hoping we'd be in the front again, but we weren't, and I wasn't going to request it because, you know, we were tired, and so we had kind of already had our chance to ride it in the front. And so, yeah, we rode the ride, and it was great. After that, it was, well after midnight. We kind of just walked slowly out of the park, took some pictures. We took some pictures in front of the castle and made our way out and just decided to take the bus back because it didn't seem like a lot of people were really in line for the bus when we were heading over that way. And so I didn't foresee it really being an issue. We got over to, I think we waited maybe 10, 15 minutes. We all got on the first bus and headed back to the resort. And this was just such a fun day, like slow, relaxing, and fun. And we really enjoyed it. And the weather was so nice this day. It was very cold in the evening. And once extended evening hours started at Magic Kingdom, the park felt very empty. So it was definitely just that big rush of people were just people there for the regular park day. I think because it was nice and sunny, everyone was taking advantage of it. One of the good things is we definitely were not waking up early the next day. I wasn't even 100% sure what park we were going to visit. I knew we'd be at Epcot for sure. We had a dining reservation over there. I did want to try to stop by Hollywood Studios, but at this point, I just could not wait to go to sleep because we were exhausted. So the next morning we slept in and just really took things slow. We kind of woke up late. I think we woke up around like 9:30, which is really late for us. Maybe even closer to 10. I went back to Primo Piatto and got our coffee and some more chocolate banana bread with our snack credits. And I have to say, when you are using the dining plan, either the quick service or the Disney dining plan, it is so nice to just be able to check your app to see how many credits you have left because you will not be able to keep track of it for the most part, especially for a longer trip. If you want, more information about the dining plan, I did a dining plan episode a few episodes back, so go and have a listen to that. But anyway, we woke up, we drank our coffee, we ate our banana bread, got dressed, and decided that we were going to go to Hollywood Studios. When I woke up, because I woke up before Cameron, I went ahead and bought us Genie Plus for the day. It was $23 again, and at this point, I went to see what was available at Hollywood Studios, and pretty much there was not very much available. Most of the rides that we would want to ride had a much later wait time. I did grab us a Lightning Lane for Tower of Terror, but I kind of was beginning to feel like maybe going to Hollywood Studios wasn't a great idea. I was worried it was going to be kind of a wash for us, but we hadn't been to that park yet, so we just decided to go. And again, Cameron was kind of just along for the ride. He didn't care so much. We've done Rise many of times before, and so that wasn't necessarily a must-do for us. Like, I didn't want to buy a Lightning Lane for that. I did buy us a Lightning Lane for Guardians later in the day because I knew we were definitely going to want to ride that again. I missed the virtual queue because I slept too long, and I knew we wouldn't be in the park at 1. I knew we would not be at Epcot at 1 to get into the virtual queue. So at this point, My original plan was to try to ride Guardians 3 times on this trip, but at this point we were only going to be able to ride it twice, which was fine. So we went over, when we left the Riviera, we went to the Skyliner station and we took it over to Caribbean Beach. And then from there we hopped on and took it over to Hollywood Studios. And then again, just because of the time of day, it was about 11:30. There was no line for the Skyliner. Like, it was super easy to just pretty much walk on, hop off, and get right back on. This day was a little cloudy and chilly out, but it was overall nice. There really wasn't rain in the forecast, so we were excited about that. This was also Thursday, so it was the day before the opening day of Festival of the Arts. And when we had been at Epcot, a couple of days before, there was no sign of Festival of the Arts anywhere. So I was really hoping that we would get to see some Festival of the Arts stuff today, because I just could not fathom that they were not going to set up until the night before. So I was hoping when we went to Epcot later, we would get to see that. So we got to Hollywood Studios, and we were hungry because we hadn't really ate breakfast. We had just had the chocolate banana bread. So while we were still on the Skyliner, I went ahead and mobile ordered us lunch from Dockside Diner. Dockside Diner is kind of right when you walk in the park. You just walk down the main Hollywood Boulevard, and it's over there on the left. I've never ate there, so I was excited to try it, and we decided to use one of our quick service credits for this meal. So I got the California BLTA dog. It's a hot dog, and it had lettuce, tomato, avocado, crispy bacon. It had like a mustard aioli and was on a brioche bun and came with chips. And Cameron got the pretzel hot dog, which was a hot dog with apple braised sauerkraut and onions drizzled with mustard aioli on the pretzel bread. And then we went ahead and got a serving of the bacon macaroni and cheese, and then we each got a drink. When we got over to Dockside, there were a lot of people waiting. We noticed that this was definitely a very busy park. Like, this park was probably the busiest park that we ran into while on our whole trip. And so even though I had already clicked that we're here, we still had to wait a good 15 minutes for our food. And the people who were working behind the counter seemed very frazzled because it was crazy busy. We just got a little picnic table right over by the boat and got our food, and it was really good. Like, surprisingly, it was delicious. We really enjoyed it, and it was kind of the perfect first meal of the day. After that, our Tower of Terror lightning lane was up, so we went over and did that. The standby was 45 minutes, and I think we waited 10 minutes. Like, it was a pretty quick wait for us. When we got in line, we were almost inside the building by the time we got to where the line stopped. I love this ride. Cameron actually does not love this ride. He'll ride it. It's not like he's scared to ride it. He just doesn't love drop rides, but he, took one for the team so that we could ride this. So after we got done with that, it was about 12:30. There were no lightning lanes available. Like, we wanted to do Toy Story Mania. Those were already way later in the day. Slinky was already sold out for the day. Millennium Falcon was super late in the day. And I'm not actually a huge fan of that ride, so passing on that was fine with me. And we just kind of didn't know what to do, if I'm being honest. I was like, maybe let's just walk around. So we decided to just kind of walk across the park. We went over to Base Lane Tap House, which I've been really excited to try, and we got a couple of beers. That kind of had a long line as well, and this was the point when I heard the lady talking about how she was there for Run Disney and her flight got delayed. And that's when I kind of clicked. I'm like, oh, that's why there are so many people here. A lot of people probably got delayed due to the bad weather up north. But we got our beers. They were really good. We both enjoyed them. And then after that, we kind of just walked through Galaxy's Edge. We're just drinking our drinks, walking slow. I took a bunch of pictures. We stopped and did a fun photo pass with lightsabers. We walked over by the Millennium Falcon and really looked up underneath it. There's a hidden Mickey over there somewhere, and we were kind of looking for it. We saw Chewbacca meeting people. We didn't stand in line to meet him, but we saw that and just kind of took our time. We swung around the corner and walked into Toy Story Land because we did have a lightning lane for alien swirling saucers. one of my goals on this trip was to try to get Cameron to ride the rides he hasn't rode, and he's never rode that. So we got in line for that. The standby was 40 minutes, which that just shows you how busy this park was. And we ended up waiting 15, and that was fun. Like, that's just kind of a silly ride. It's, not really what I think most people expect it's going to be, but we enjoyed that. And at that point, I was like, let's just go. It was close to 2:00. There was nothing else that we could do at that park because all of the lines were so long, the wait times. There were no more lightning lanes that I could grab because I knew we were going to Epcot, so I couldn't grab something for later in the day because I knew we wouldn't be there. We kind of walked through some shops on the way out. We weren't super interested in the shows. We've seen them, before. And so I didn't really care to sit down and watch a show. I kind of was excited to just get over to Epcot and see what was going on over there. Fingers crossed that they had Festival of the Arts stuff out. So as we were walking out of the park, it was really nice outside. A little bit cloudy, but the sun was still poking through. Temperature was perfect. So we decided to just walk over to Epcot. When Aiden and I stayed at the boardwalk, we really enjoyed this walk from Hollywood Studios to the boardwalk. And so I just asked Cameron, are you up for a long walk? And he's like, sure, let's do it. So we just kind of took the little walk around. We walked through the boardwalk, just kind of enjoyed that area for a bit. We stopped at Joe's Marvelous Margaritas and got a couple of beers for the rest of our walk over to Epcot. And then we went and stood. There's a bridge where it connects like boardwalk to the little pathway that goes to Epcot over there. And you can see the Skyliner and you can see France and you can kind of hear some of the music in France. And we just stood on that bridge and talked. And it was so much fun. Just standing there, just kind of talking about the stuff that was going on. Our oldest is a senior in high school, so he's about to leave. And this is going to be our first kid that leaves the house. And so just kind of standing there talking about the future and what's all to come and him going to college and just other plans that we had was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. And it's just moments like that you don't get to do when you're with your kids, You might have a glimpse of it, but like no one was standing there going, let's go, let's go. So that was really nice. We really enjoyed that. So then we walked over into Epcot and we got there. We decided to go through England, so we went through some shops over there and the United Kingdom area, kind of explored that. We bought some souvenirs for the kids, walked through Canada, and then we were slowly walking around to the front to go do our lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind. So we walked through Canada. We didn't stop and get anything, I'm pretty sure. And then that's when we kind of came to where Epcot where the World Showcase turns into the World Celebration area. And that's where I started to see Festival of the Art decorations. And I was so excited because when we were walking from Hollywood Studios over to Epcot, we kind of talked about just doing our dining reservation at Le Cellier, doing our Cosmic Rewind, and then going over to Disney Springs for the evening because we hadn't been there yet. But when we walked over there and we saw the Festival of the Arts stuff, I told Cameron, I really just want to stay in Epcot this evening and walk around and, kind of take pictures of all the Festival of the Arts stuff that we can find in the different countries. And he was like, that's fine, I don't care. Because our ultimate goal was to get back to our room in time to stop at our gift shop, buy a bottle of wine, and go sit on the balcony and watch the fireworks at Epcot. So that was kind of like the plan. So we walked around, we took some pictures, there were some artists already doing chalk work on the ground, and we kind of went and saw all that, which that is just amazing. If you've never been to the Festival of the Arts, it really is a wonderful festival, and it's so fun and beautiful to visit. They had some of the frames up where you can go stand in a movie scene, so Cameron took my picture in a couple of those, and that was really fun. We made it over to Cosmic Rewind for our 3:00 lightning lane. And there was like not a line at all. So I told Cameron, this is what it's usually like when you buy a lightning lane. There is no line. So we walked all the way up through the line up to where you kind of have to stop for the first room. And once we got on the ride, we got One Way or Another, which I've gotten before, and I actually really love that song. So that was fun too. I was excited we got two different songs because when Aiden and I went, we kept getting the same song. And so that was definitely fun to have a different song because it really is a different experience, the songs that you get. So after Cosmic Rewind, it was time for our dining reservation, or it was getting close to time. So we decided to kind of walk back over to Canada because, again, we were eating at Le Cellier, which I was very excited to eat at. We took more pictures of the Festival of the Arts things on our way over there. And then we went and checked in. And I've actually, Le Cellier, you have to, if you're familiar with the Canada Pavilion, a lot of it is blocked off because they're still renovating it. So you can't kind of walk back and see the waterfall like over the overlook like that you used to be able to. But you can walk down and it is so beautiful down there. There's like a little cabin, there's water, tons of flowers. Like I've never been down there. It's the same area where you can walk to go watch the Canada 360 movie. It was just beautiful. I loved this little area and I love finding new little gems like that on vacation. So we went and we had our dinner at Le Cellier. It was an early dinner. I think our reservation was at 4:30. We checked in a little bit early. We checked in around 4:10 and they ended up seating us a little bit early as well. We chose not to use our dining plan, mostly because we were out of credits at this point. And this is a 2-credit restaurant, which when I was planning our meals, I already planned for us to not use our dining here because I was I'm again not a big eater, so I wasn't going to get a big expensive meal at this restaurant, and so I didn't want to waste 2 credits on me because I didn't get like a full-size steak or anything. If you've never been in this restaurant, it is so romantic and nice. It's like low ceilings. It's kind of dark in there. I had been told the tables were going to be close together, which they were, but it wasn't like in an annoying way, I guess you could say. And we actually had a great table. We were sat in like one side was a booth and the other side across from us was chairs. So we just both sat on the booth side. So there really wasn't anyone even next to us. We had the sweetest waitress. She was really young. And she was from the Banff area in Canada, which we visited. So we had a nice chat with her about how much we loved Banff when we were there. And she said she loves having, guests come that are familiar with where she's from because she loves to talk about it. So that was really nice. We enjoyed that. For our appetizer, we decided to go with one of the poutine offerings. We actually really like poutine. We ate it when we went to Canada a few years back and loved it. So we chose the Le Cellier beef bourguignon, I think is how you say poutine. It's fresh cut French fries, Gruyere, beef bourguignon gravy, garlic aioli, and truffle. And it was so good, like absolutely delicious. And this is one of the reasons I didn't want to use my dining credits because after I ate this, we also ordered a couple of the Moosehead beers. After we ate this and drank our beers, I was already getting full. So for my meal, I just went with the cheddar cheese soup, which is on the appetizer menu, and it was fantastic. This soup, and it was in a really large bowl, was so, so good. And the soup is only $13, whereas Cameron got the filet mignon, which was $62. So that's one of the reasons, again, we didn't use the dining plan because I did not need to waste 2 dining credits on a bowl of soup. His steak was cooked perfectly. It's a Canadian tenderloin with a mushroom risotto and some fancy sauce that I'm not even going to try to butcher the name like I butchered the poutine name. But he loved it and he said it was perfect. Like everything was seasoned great. It was absolutely delicious. So yeah, we just kind of sat in here. We did not get dessert since we didn't have to get dessert. We were kind of full from our food. But we just kind of sat and enjoyed our drinks and just enjoyed our time together. And this was such a nice experience. Really, all the food we ate was fantastic. After we left Le Cellier, I kind of forgot that one of the things I wanted to do was visit the Journey of Water, the Moana, area over at the front of Epcot. And so We went back over there, which was pretty close to Canada, thank goodness, and decided to walk through that, which was so beautiful. I really love this addition to Epcot, and I like this addition where it's at. I think it fits really nicely, and it was really fun. We had fun walking through and playing with the water features. There's points of it where the water's kind of jumping around and then you can see Spaceship Earth in the back. And it was just really nice. Like we enjoyed this, thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't too crowded. Epcot in general this day didn't feel really that crowded. And this area I know can get kind of crowded, especially in the summer, but we didn't have experience with that. And so it was just a nice, fun time. We really both enjoyed it. Took lots of pictures, took lots of video. Yeah, it was great. And then at the end, Tafiti is so pretty. Just this giant statue, which she was much smaller than I thought she was going to be. When you see the pictures, you think she's going to be giant. And she's not giant. I mean, she is big, but it was beautiful. So after that, our plan was just kind of to walk through the World Showcase back to the International Gateway so that we could get the Skyliner back to our resort. It was around like 5:45 at this time when we kind of started in Mexico. We decided to hop on the Three Caballeros ride. We got the front row because there was nobody in line, and we just kind of walked right up. We got the front row, so we actually propped our feet up and just enjoyed it. I think this ride's so cute. I love it. Cameron had never done it, and he enjoyed it as well. It was just, a nice, relaxing time. We just kind of, at that point, we're just walking through walking through different booths and stuff. So in the stores, we stopped in Norway, walked through that store, went over to China, walked around there, walked through that store, took some pictures because, sun was setting. It was really beautiful. Went over to Germany and got our grapefruit beers that we like. Kind of just kept walking, enjoying just our time together. We stopped in Italy because there's an Italian beer that Cameron really likes. And so we stopped and got that as well. We were taking pictures, of the chalk art. They have a cute Luca one in Italy that we got a picture of. We really walked through Morocco. So Cameron's never done that. And so I showed him how you can really walk back there and how pretty it is. And I found some different chalk art that I wasn't even familiar with that was back there because I've not really walked back there that much. So that was really fun as well. We just kind of kept walking all the way out. And by the time we got over to the Skyliner, we just hopped on and went back to our resort. It was almost 7. It was just like right before 7 around this time. So we got to our resort, and I had told Cameron that one of the things I really wanted to do while we were there is to swim. And it was at this point starting to drizzle a little bit. It was pretty cold. It was definitely chilly. And so he thought I was crazy. But I was like, it'll be fun, I promise. So we went to the gift shop. We bought a bottle of sparkling red wine. I bought a couple of t-shirts I kind of had my eye on. I didn't do a ton of shopping on this trip, which I usually love to do, but it just wasn't a focus of mine. Just more spending time and enjoying our time together was more of my focus. So we went back up to our room, put the the wine in an ice bucket with some ice, and then we got our swimsuits on and we went out to the pool. Now, we were not the only people at the pool, even though it definitely was light raining. So the first thing we did was we went to the main pool. So Riviera has 2 pools. We just went ahead and went to the main pool because the hot tub at the other pool was very crowded. And it's smaller. And it actually made me nervous what the hot tub at the main pool was going to look like because it's bigger. But it wasn't crowded at all. So we jumped in the hot tub. We met some really nice people while we were there. There was like a mom and her sister and her 3 kids, and they were from New Hampshire. And so we were talking to them. And then there was another man. He was there with his wife. And so we were just all talking about, Disney. Like, we love Disney and how nice the hotel is and the things we did at the parks. And it was so much fun. And then I convinced Cameron to go down the slide. I was like, we have to go down the slide because it's supposed to be one of the best slides and looks really fun. So him and I kind of scooted over to the slide. We went down the slide twice. The slide at Riviera Pool is so much fun. You guys, this is definitely the best slide I've been on at Disney. Now, the slide at Boardwalk was really fun. This slide takes the cake. It was so long, so steep, so fast. Perfect. Like, just had the best time. I usually take videos when I'm on the slide, but because it was so cold and raining, I was like, I'm not doing a video. And it was dark, so you couldn't see that well. But it was really fun swimming at night. The pools are kept at a comfortable temperature, so it was actually warmer in the pool than it was outside, which is always, kind of neat, especially for Texans. That doesn't happen often for us. So we stayed out there for about 30 minutes. At around 8:30, we decided to get up back to the room so we could shower and get changed before the fireworks started at 9. So we got back to our room, shower, changed into warm clothes, broke open our bottle of wine, and went and sat on the balcony and watched the fireworks. And this was just the perfect evening end to our trip. We had seriously such an amazing view of the fireworks. We could even kind of hear the music, not super loud. It's not like they pumped the music in or anything like that, but it was just so nice. I like watching fireworks. I don't love being in crowds, but it doesn't bother me, whereas Cameron does not really like giant crowds of people. And so this was, just a nice romantic way to watch fireworks at the end of our trip. And then for the most part, we called it an early night, which was kind of nice because even though we were only there a few days, we were go, go, go the whole time and definitely needed to rest. We did pack up some of our stuff because the next morning before we left, we did have plans. And so, yeah, it was kind of just a nice little evening. So our last morning, I did have to set an alarm to wake up so that we wouldn't miss our breakfast reservation. So I set our alarm for 8. We woke up and it was really rainy and foggy and cold and just not nice weather at all. So ultimately, I was really glad that this wasn't going to be a park day for us because I just imagined the first day of the Festival of the Arts with this type of weather was just not going to be fun. So we packed up our stuff and I think we left our resort at around 8:20. I had a Lyft come pick us up and take us over to Wilderness Lodge for our breakfast reservation. And now that I think about it, this was our last table service dining credit. I know I had said we used them all earlier, but we actually didn't. This was our last one. So we had a breakfast reservation at Whispering Canyon. Cameron has never been to Wilderness Lodge, so I was excited to show him this resort because this is where I stayed when I went on a work trip a few years back, and I really just loved it. It was beautiful. So we got there early. We got there before our dining reservation. We actually took our bags with us. This was something we weren't sure if we should do or not. So we decided to just pack up our suitcases. Again, we just take carry-on, so it's not a whole lot of stuff. And when we got to Wilderness Lodge, we just checked them in at Bell Services and we told them, we're eating breakfast. We're going to spend a little bit of time here. Can we leave our bags? And they're like, absolutely. So that was really nice. That's good to know because we just weren't sure if we wanted to have to make that trip back to Riviera. So we were a little bit early for our breakfast reservation. We had our coffee still with us that I had gotten us that morning from Primo Piatto. So we went and sat in the rocking chairs by the big fireplace, kind of warmed up and waited for them. I had done the mobile check-in that we're here and kind of waited for them to call us over to our table. So we sat there for about 10 minutes and then they called us to our table. And I was really excited to eat here. I've never ate at Whispering Canyon before. And so I've only heard really great things about it. So again, I was really excited to try this meal. We had a fantastic waitress. She was very funny. She really picked on Cameron a lot, which was so funny. Overall, it was just really great. She was awesome. I decided to go with one of the all you care to enjoy skillets. This probably isn't something I would usually choose because it is just it's a little bit more expensive and you can kind of just keep getting food and constantly bringing them to you. Bringing it to you, but I just wanted to try it, and since we had the dining plan, I figured why not. So I got the Heritage Skillet, which came with house-made buttermilk cheddar biscuits and sausage gravy with scrambled eggs, country potatoes, hickory smoked bacon, pork sausage links, and Mickey-shaped waffles. It was a lot of food, but it was so good. I really enjoyed it and was excited that I got it. Cameron went with the ham and cheese omelet, which was house smoked ham and cheddar served with country potatoes and your choice of house made buttermilk cheddar biscuits or toast. And I'm pretty sure he got the biscuits. So our food was great. Like, this was such a good breakfast, and I think it is such a good price. Like, if you look at the pricing of this meal, it's really worth it. There was one table where, so one of the things they do at Whispering Canyon is they can kind of just mess with you, be a little bit over the top on things. So if you order ketchup, they'll like bring you a lot of ketchup. There was a table next to us where the waiter put one of the people in jail. So they like brought over these bars and they had to hold them like they were in jail. And the other table next to us, when they got up to leave, the waitress was like, fine, just leave all your dishes. Well, who do you think's going to clean it up? Oh, I guess that's me. And was just really ragging them the whole time they left, which was really funny. But we had a great experience, and I would definitely eat here again. And I would love to take my kids here because I think they would love it. So after we ate breakfast, we had some time to kill before we had to make it our way over to the airport. We didn't have enough time for us to go to like Disney Springs or stuff, plus we had our luggage. So we just walked around, took some pictures of the resort. We walked outside. I had clients that were going to be staying here after us, so I wanted to take some videos. They were going to be staying in Boulder Ridge, so I wanted to take some videos for them to kind of get them excited about their trip. Because the weather was bad, there really wasn't a lot of activity going on at this resort. There wasn't anyone in the pool or anything like that, but we had a really nice time walking around. Over in Boulder Ridge, they have some of Walt Disney's personal train collection, so we went and got to see that. I've never seen that before, and I was excited to get to see that. That was really nice, and it's just really cozy in there. I loved it. Then we walked over to the geyser because Wilderness Lodge has its own geyser that goes off, and it was going to be going off soon. I've seen the geyser before. It's really cool. And so I wanted Cameron to get to experience that. So we stood out there. It was drizzling on us and we watched that and it was really fun. A couple of other families walked up as well to watch. And yeah, it was great. We really enjoyed it. One of my favorite things to do on trips is to go see other resorts. So if you have a chance, if you go on a Disney trip, go check out the resorts. It is really neat. It's also a great way to kind of get an idea of where you might want to stay. You know, when we went on our first trip, we stayed at a value resort. We were on a very tight budget, and we took the two boys and they were younger. And so it just seemed like the sports resort was going to be the best option for us. And honestly, at the time it was. But now that I've been to a bunch of different resorts and not just stayed at them, but visited them, it really opens your eyes on to what's available. And so when you're seeing the resort in person, when you go see the price tag, you think, okay, now I can see why, this price might be a little bit more because it's a lot nicer. So yeah, just if you have a chance, go visit the resorts. It is so much fun. You're welcome to visit any resort. Now you sometimes can't get into the pool area. It just depends on the resort. Most of the pool areas you have to have a key to get in, but for the most part, you can freely walk around and just see what it has to offer. So after walking around for a while, it was time for us to leave. So we called a Lyft, we got our bags, and we headed to the airport. We didn't get to the airport too early because I hate sitting at the airport. But our flight was delayed, which has kind of become an inconvenience when I leave MCO. I feel like the last few times my flight has been delayed. This delay wasn't too bad. It was just kind of nerve-wracking because I needed to get home by a certain time so I could get my daughter to her dance event. So it was just cutting it close because we live about 45 minutes from the airport once we get home. Just factoring in all the drive time, I was doing the math in my head, praying we could get home in time, but we were delayed getting on our plane. And then once we were on her plane, I just started watching a show. I wasn't even thinking about it. And we sat on our plane on the tarmac for 40 minutes before we even took off. There was one point I looked out the window and I already thought we had taken off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't even taken off yet. Thankfully, I did make it home in plenty of time, but I literally got home, got in the car, and took my daughter straight to her dance thing, but we did make it. But yeah, overall, it was such a fun trip. It was such a fast little perfect trip. The short trips can be just as good as the long trips sometimes, even better in my opinion. So my least magical moment of the trip is honestly just the flight situation we had home. We really didn't run into anything that went wrong. The only other thing I would probably say is just the way Hollywood Studios was. It was really, really busy. And with Rock and Roller Coaster down, it doesn't leave a lot of, it takes away, that's a big ride. And that's a big ride most people go to the park to ride. And so with that being gone, it just makes the other rides, either the lightning lanes go faster or the standby lines just longer. I don't know if I'll visit Hollywood Studios again, if I'm being honest, until that ride is back up, because I don't know. It was just too busy. There really wasn't a lot for us to do while we were there. But yeah, so that was kind of probably the biggest downer. But again, for me, that really wasn't even that big of a downer because we just park hopped. And that's another reason sometimes having a park hopper is a good option. My most magical moment overall was just being on the trip. Like being with my husband at Disney, just the two of us, was something I kind of dreamed of doing. I never really knew if we would get to do it. And so the fact that we actually got to do it was so much fun. My other most magical moment was the moment when we were just standing on the bridge, before we walked into Epcot, just kind of talking about our life, talking about our future and our kids. That was just really special. I still think about it. It was just kind of a unexpected special moment that we had, only because we just decided to walk instead of take Disney transportation. And the last thing I would say is being front row on Tron. That was fantastic. That was absolutely so magical, unexpected because we didn't request it. It just kind of happened that way. And just how much fun it was completely unexpected as well. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my trip tale. I will be back in a couple of weeks with my overall, deep dive into Riviera. I actually forgot to mention that we did go eat at Bar Riva at one point on the trip. I'll go into more of all of that in the Riviera episode, so make sure that you listen to that one as well. That's a wrap on today's show. As always, thanks for listening. Make sure to visit us on Instagram at Disney Travel Tales. If you're wanting to support the show, the best and easiest way to do that is to leave a 5-star positive review on Apple Podcasts. It's so easy and means the world to me. Can't wait to be back next week with you. So until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams come true. Hi, this is Jenny, just popping on with some exciting news. I've started a Facebook group just for you. I'm really excited about this because not only will this be a great opportunity to get to know each other, but this is also a safe space to talk all things Disney. Members can share travel tips, resort tips, likes and dislikes, and the best part is this will give you an opportunity to talk to the guest on the show and ask them questions about their trips. I was trying to think of a fun name for us, and Disney Travel Tales Podcast Clubhouse came to mind. This is a private group, and of course, I will not allow anyone to be bullied or talked down to. I just want this space to be positive and fun. Check the show notes for a link to join, or just search Disney Travel Tales Podcast Clubhouse in Facebook. I can't wait to see you over there.